Hello everyone, so in today's video, as you can see, I'm going to be doing a how I revise history because I have just got my GCSE results and I actually got a 9 in history, so I've been getting so many messages to do one as soon as possible, so that's what I'm doing today. I will be doing these in a few more subjects, so if you do want to know how I revise certain subjects, please do comment below and I will let you know. History was my favourite subject at GCSE, so I did do a lot of revision for it and I really wanted to get a 9 or an 8, so I did revise quite a lot, so that's why I've got quite a lot of revision. So at the start of summer I was beginning to put items up on my Depop to sell, so like revision items, just to make a bit of money as a summer project, like not for expensive prices or anything. I kind of stopped doing that for a bit, but if there is any digital things such as this or this or this that you do want to buy, you're interested in getting, please do direct message me on Instagram and we can like sort something out and I can send you over some of the revision. But I'm not doing things like flashcards, it's just purely digital things and also things that I have scanned in, some of the mind maps. If you do want access for that, it'll only be a few pounds. But yeah, do let me know. So I've split the revision up into paper 1, paper 2 and paper 3. For my revision I did Crime and Punishment Through Time, Elizabethan England and Cold War, and then Weimar and Nazi Germany. I do Edexcel, by the way. So paper 1 is the depth study, so it's across 1,000 years. So the main piece of advice that I have is to make a really long timeline like I did. So this really long timeline is made up of 5 A4 bits of paper. So this would work for medicine, crime and punishment, and I think the other one is warfare. Or this could work for any topic that you do in history. So I basically had a time period on one sheet of paper, and that was kind of how it was split up in the textbook. I would have a summary here, so just the key points if I wanted a quick look. I would have things like the punishments, the policing, key dates. I would have like the change in continuity, as that was quite a big part of the topic. So we would just do this for all time periods, and then I had it along my wall, and this was really effective. So yeah, like I said, I would definitely look at making one of these, or if not, like I said, direct message me on Instagram or email me, which is below, and you can get access to this one for a small fee. So yeah, that's one of the key things that I did for paper 1. So another thing I did for paper 1, which was Crime and Punishment, was mind maps. So I do recommend mind maps. I did do a bit too many, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I did these instead of kind of making notes, because I know a lot of people do make notes and that's fine if it works for you. However, it didn't work for me, and I would make these mind maps and then I could use them for blurting. So they are quite, you can multitask with mind maps basically. This would work for any history topic at all, and I did do these back in year 10, so I didn't waste loads of time doing them. I would do about one a week maybe, or maybe a couple at a time if I was like coming up to an exam, and these did really help. However, during exam season I did start to worry that I was doing a lot of content-based revision and not focusing as much on the exam technique, so I decided to make these flashcards. So these are 12 markers. I've literally just I wrote a question which could have been a 12 marker, and then I planned my answer to them. Because the 12 markers are really similar to the 20 markers, I did actually cover quite a lot doing this, and they didn't even take that long to make. So I would write a 12 marker on the front, and then on the back I would write the points I would say, and then perhaps a way I would explain this. This really helped me to get my head in the exam mindset. So there's a couple there. For Crime and Punishment you have to kind of do a study which is part of the paper. We had to do it on Whitechapel in the inner city, but I know that people who do medicine have to do it on Medicine in the Trenches, and for this honestly I didn't do much revision. I just made these flashcards of key events and how to answer questions, and this was actually homework to do this, so it didn't take up any revision time again. So yeah, this is what I did. I just made key flashcards and then learned the information off here. So also for Crime and Punishment, I bought these 3 books. So I bought them for Crime and Punishment, Cold War and Elizabeth. I didn't actually get them for Germany because by the time I bought them I'd finished all my revision. So these books were also really helpful, so I definitely recommend checking these out. I will try and leave a link below. So for paper 2, which was a combination of 2 topics, the revision that I did is more applicable to any type of history that you're doing. You could be on OCR doing something completely different, but you can still use these techniques, as it was very different to the first paper. The first paper was more of a depth study, whereas these are just more general knowledge basically. So I'm going to start with Elizabethan England. For Elizabeth, the main way I revised was via these flashcards. I did make so many of these flashcards, I mean a bit excessive, but again I did space them out. So once we'd finished say topic 1 in class, I actually would make my flashcards just to save me having to do it all in one chunk, and that really helped me actually. So these are literally all I revised. I felt like the Elizabeth exam went amazing, and yeah, I just really liked them. I also made sure to use a lot of colour. For example, here I've highlighted loads of keywords. Yeah, they just really helped me, and I'm so glad that I did make them, even if they did take a long time. So in terms of dates for each topic that I did of history, I did make these little flashcard sets on Quizlet, and I printed them off and just cut them out, and they acted as how I revised my dates, because I'm sure a lot of you would want to know if you're doing history, because dates are quite an important part. During exam season, again, I did want to do a bit more revision for Elizabeth, just to ensure that I had everything covered, because say if I missed out a topic on the flashcards by accident, I would literally be screwed. So I made this kind of timeline thing, so it's a table and it would say the year and then what happened in the year. It's a bit like a timeline. And yeah, this really helped me, and it also helped kind of going through and highlighting and just coming to terms with key leaders, and I also expanded on some points off the top of my head. Yeah, that's what I did. For one of our practice tests, our teacher told us a few subject areas that we had to revise for it, just because we hadn't done an exam on that topic before, so he kind of gave us a bit of help. So with his prompts, I made a mind map on each subject he gave. So for example, problems on ascension, I kind of bullet pointed the problems and then expanded them, and then I learned each point. Also here, like challenges abroad, we've got, what's this, on the revolt of the Northern Earls, stuff like this. Religion, I also did A5 mind maps, like you can see. Catholic plots, so the Babington, Rodolphian, Throckmorton, and then the revolt again. So now for Cold War. Cold War was my one of my favourite topics to learn. We did do it last. I don't feel like we were as well prepared as we were for the other 3 subjects. However, I did do a lot of revision as well, so I'll just talk you through that. So the main thing I did was, instead of making class notes, I made them on my iPad and kind of did revision notes, and I asked my teacher and he said this would be okay. So instead of making notes in my book, which I would never use again, like I wouldn't look at it for revision, so I didn't have to do any extra, only a little bit of question planning. For Cold War, it is quite split into events, so I did the cause, the consequence and the event, and that's kind of what you're asked in the exam. You'll be asked for the event in the narrative account question, the cause in the causes question, and the aftermath in the consequences question. So I literally learnt this in like kind of less detail, and that's all I really needed for the exam. However, that's not enough alone to be able to improve my exam technique, so I also did these. For example, the narrative account question, I just did some practice narrative accounts here, like you can see. So a prime example of this actually working is this question here was the question that came up in my actual GCSE exam. One of our questions was explain 2 consequences of, and then it would give you an event. So what I did for this is I basically planned an answer to every possible question they could give. Again, I did this in class, so it wasn't taking up revision time. I basically learned all of this and I was all right for the exam. So yeah, that's also an idea. It does take quite a long time, but if you're really worried, I would just write out the answers for every question and then learn them, as it does get you into the exam technique, like I said. Okay, so moving on to my favourite paper. So for Germany, this is something I did during exam season, so I will talk about that in a minute, but the main bulk of my revision was what I did when we were set class tests and we were told to bring in the revision that we did. It made sure everyone actually got the revision done. It was boring having to do it as homework, however it made sure that we all weren't leaving it till exam season. The main thing I wanted to show you here was all of these mind maps and notes that I made. I made into mind maps. So these I have scanned in, and you can buy them for like a couple of pounds if you just DM me. So for example, like views on women, I'd make a mind map, and then I'd make one on Nazi use of terror, and these honestly helped me so much. The Reichstag fire, and I just read through these, maybe blurt out some information before the exam, Hitler Youth, things like this. It was all very helpful to me, and also they were basically notes. Like, they did really help me, and that's what I did to revise Germany. I also made this during exam season from the purple book. A friend really kindly gave me her code for the purple book. As I said, I didn't buy one for Germany, and I used that to make notes, and I did it in a lot of my study with me, so you might recognize this document. And I then highlighted the key information, so like people, events, key statistic, dates, stuff like that. Yeah, that's also something I did, and that just really helped me as well. So I have made a bit of a mess with the revision, but thank you so much for watching. That's all for this video. That's basically how I did revise my history. Like I said, I did do a lot of revision, but it didn't feel like it at the time because, as I said, I was spacing it out, and I always kind of revise for the class test, so that's definitely something you should do. Make sure to DM me of anything that you want to buy, and also make sure to comment any more how I revise requests that you want to see. So yeah, that's how I revise, and I hope you enjoyed.